We do here on Skiba News Nation. Please like and subscribe, and also share with others so we can grow the biggest truth-seeking community on the internet. Huge shout out to all of our Patreons out there. If you like bonus content, you want some extra Skiba News Nation stuff, please go to patreon.com/Skiba News Nation.
Welcome to Skiba News Nation, bringing you unfiltered views, news, interviews, discussions, and more. And now, here's your host, Jeremiah Skiba, award-winning musician and son of Rob Skiba.
With the son of the legendary Rob Skiba, Jeremiah Skiba, what's up?
With my great and insightful co-host, Mr. Jake Graham. It's like I don't even want to wake up.
He's on a quest for truth.
Something huge is coming. We're building the world's largest truther convention. It's called TrutherCon.
This is the place where truthers unite to explore knowledge, ask tough questions, to challenge the mainstream narrative.
But it isn't just a convention. It's a movement for free thought, open discussion, and the right to question everything.
We are bringing in some of the biggest names of the truther community, so expect deep discussions, mind-blowing revelations, and connections with like-minded truth seekers.
If you feel like the truth is being hidden from you, this is where you need to be.
And the best part, it's 100% grassroots, built by truthers for truthers, straight from our Skiba News Nation family. TrutherCon will be a massive networking event. I believe this is going to be the most exciting truther event ever.
October 2025 in Dallas, Texas. We hope to see you there. Hey Skiba News Nation family, welcome to episode 119 of Skiba News Nation, your weekly source of the latest news, controversial topics, conspiracies, forgotten history, and so much more. I'm your host, Jeremiah Skiba. Now as always, I'd like to introduce my great and insightful co-host as always, Mr. Jake Grant. Welcome, Jake.
Well, hello. Hey, Jeremiah.
How's it going?
Going pretty good. I would like to ask for the praying people out there to pray for my brother and my sister. My brother just went to the hospital this morning from some grand mal seizures. We don't know how he's doing yet, but really worried about him. And my sister also just got diagnosed with epilepsy as well. So we're just kind of getting rocked medically as a family. Really frustrating. But other than that, my family, my immediate family, my daughters, my wife, we're all doing good, and we're just chugging along here. We got some really interesting things happening in the world, but yeah, man, that's pretty much what's up with us.
Awesome, man. Well, we'll definitely be praying for your family, and yeah, man. But you got some good current news for me today?
Yeah, we do.
All right, let's get into it.
Alrighty, let's rapid fire through a couple really interesting stories here. Check this out. Bush officials claim U.S. built secret $21 trillion underground city for rich and powerful to live if near extinction event happens. Hey, so here's an End Times headlines article about the launch India made missile strikes against 9 sites in Pakistan, and this has just happened in the last basically 24 hours. Pretty crazy footage and imagery coming out of Pakistan. The Indian Armed Forces have officially announced the execution of Operation Sindoor, which involved precise strikes on 9 distinct locations in Pakistan and the areas of Jammu and Kashmir under Pakistani control. This is the kind of stuff that we pay attention to because it definitely reveals the escalation of conflicts over in that part of Asia and the world. Here we have Trump announcing the U.S. will immediately halt bombings in Yemen after the Houthis called and surrendered. He said, they don't want to fight anymore. Yep, interesting news here that Trump announced the U.S. will immediately halt bombings in Yemen after the Houthis called and surrendered. Here's some other interesting political news. California Democrats block bill to make sex trafficking minors a felony. Again! Oh, what a surprise. Yeah, so that's going on in the world. Here's an article from the Daily Wire that says the United Nations might soon run out of money. This is an organization that Donald Trump had stopped providing funding to because this was an organization that was extraordinarily compromised. In 2024, the United Nations had $200 million cash shortfall, according to the Economist, which added internal modeling suggests that the year-end cash deficit without cuts probably blow out to $1.1 billion, leaving the UN without money to pay salaries and suppliers by September. Approximately $760 million was lost in unpaid dues in 2024. The United States and China each contributed roughly 20% of the UN's annual budget. The United States contributed $2.3 billion annually to the UN. Wow, that's a lot to keep that boat running. Article 19 of the UN Charter says that a country that skips 2 years worth of payments will lose its vote in the General Assembly, but not its veto on the Security Council if it has one. The Economist reported America's total arrears are about $3 billion, still shy of its $4.5 billion 2-year limit. If Mr. Trump does not pony up, America will fall foul of the rules in next year's budget and have its vote stripped in 2027. Okay, very interesting. Very interesting indeed. Here's another article for us. A Soviet spacecraft is plunging back to Earth this week, 53 years after it was launched. Apparently, just weeks ago, scientists warned that a city-killer asteroid had a small chance of hitting Earth. While the predictions was thankfully revised, the planet may have to worry about another object plummeting down from the heavens, a 1970s spacecraft called Cosmos 482. The Soviet-era spacecraft meant to land on Venus a half-century ago is expected to soon plunge uncontrolled back to Earth. It is too early to know where the half-ton mass of metal might come down or how much of it will survive re-entry, according to space debris tracking experts. So, worth keeping your eyes on the skies in the next few weeks. Not to mention that there's the apparently the nova going to happen in the constellation of the Northern Crown, and supposedly in a short span of time the nova will appear in that formation of stars brighter possibly than the North Star itself, but it will quickly diminish in light afterwards. But it's kind of a guessing work when the nova is going to happen. Apparently it happens every 80 years from the Northern Crown constellation. So I've been paying attention to that as well, but we will have apparently falling space debris entering the atmosphere as well, which is going to be interesting, because sometimes I wonder if they know these celestial phenomena are going to happen, and sometimes they write it off as, oh, it's just an old space junker falling down to Earth, when it's something spectacular or amazing that is not actually explainable.
Right.
But with that said, here's a video. Let's start off of the U.S. government preparing underground bunkers and bases around the world. Very interesting topic.
It's a history of near extinction events, and one of the things that I've looked at, because I'm trying to figure out, between fiscal 1998 and fiscal 2015, there were 21 trillion of undocumentable adjustments in the U.S. government. If you go to our website, missingmoney.solera.com, we have years and years of documentation, including the government financials that show this. And so the question is, where's all this money going? And one of the things I've looked at in the process of looking at where all this money is going is the underground base and city infrastructure and transportation system that's been built. And
I'm sorry?
yes, so we have built an extraordinary number of underground bases and supposedly transportation systems. Some of these are some of these are documented as part of the national security infrastructure. I think there are many more. So
In the United States?
in the United States, on all over the world.
And let's take a live look at Capitol Hill, where lawmakers are looking to get to the bottom of who's responsible for numerous drone sightings near U.S. military bases in recent months. Today's House subcommittee hearing comes months after the White House said those drones spotted over New Jersey were, quote, not the enemy. News Nation's Brooke Schaefer is keeping tabs on this one for us. Brooke, good morning. I remember those drones over New Jersey. People were worried, but lawmakers treating these drones as a serious threat now.
Hannah, officials from the Department of Defense and the FAA are expected to testify in this hearing in Washington, D.C. later today, addressing what at least one lawmaker described as a significant threat to our national security. The subcommittee on military and foreign affairs says drone sightings over military bases and U.S. military sites are being exposed to surveillance, espionage, and potential weaponization. Congress today looking to tackle those vulnerabilities and answer the question of who is in charge. Subcommittee Chairman Congressman William Timmons said U.S. agencies' confusion over who's responsible for countering increased drone activity severely hinders our military's ability to respond to threats in real time. As you mentioned, today's hearing, it comes several months after a number of drones were spotted over New Jersey, prompting serious concern for weeks from people who live there. Some of those drones were reportedly sighted over 2 military installations, according to the Department of Defense, though a spokesperson for the Joint Staff called those sightings typical. But a top NORTHCOM and NORAD officer told the Senate Armed Services Committee in February there were 350 uncrewed aircraft systems reported last year over 100 different military installations, telling senators these drones pose a growing threat to safety and security.
Senator, the primary threat I see for them in the way they've been operating is detection and perhaps surveillance of sensitive capabilities on our installations.
The subcommittee chairman for today's hearing in D.C. calling for swift action to defend the American people. Hannah?
A lot of eyes on this, no doubt.
Has been a fixture in Colorado Springs for 60 years now, keeping us safe in a dangerous world. The North American Aerospace Defense Command just allowed its first tour in a decade. And tonight, our Michael Abeda takes us inside Cheyenne Mountain.
The tunnel to the base inside Cheyenne Mountain is iconic, but what goes on inside is top secret. It's been the subject of intrigue in popular culture for decades.
You know, you have to mix between, you know, what you see on Stargate and what you see in the movies. But I tell you, it's pretty impressive.
And while it was built in 1958, it's still probably the safest place in the world. That's because the base itself is a wonder of technology and engineering.
When you walk through that tunnel, to come here and understand the scope and breadth of the vision of people in the 1950s to create this complex and know the protection it affords, like I said, it's impressive.
Cheyenne Mountain was bored out to create space to build an Air Force base inside of it. That means the base itself sits behind tons of solid granite. That's sufficient to sustain almost any blast. But as if that wasn't enough, there are also 2 23-ton blast doors that can be closed in 45 seconds to completely seal off the base. If there's a nuclear bombing of the facility, the buildings sit on gigantic springs to protect all the people and sensitive equipment inside from the shock of the blast.
The protection it affords, you know, it's pretty amazing what we do here.
These days, NORAD monitors the air and seas around the world and in the United States from Peterson Air Force Base in the Springs.
If there's increasing tensions with state or non-state actors, if there was ever a physical threat to Peterson Air Force Base, we would be here. We would live here and fight out of here.
Inside NORAD, Michael, covering Colorado first.
From 2021 to 2023, I took one of the smartest subscribers in the Solaire Report network, and he and I spent 2 years collecting all the data and all the allegations on underground bases. Then we systematically went through and tried to estimate our guess. This is totally a guess of how many underground bases, both underground in the States, but also underground under the ocean around the United States. And our estimate was 170 with the transportation, both underground and above ground facility.
So I thought that was very interesting, considering all that's coming out with the Department of Government Efficiency, like what we covered in our live stream earlier this week, and the concept that there are things being designed, created, that have billions and billions of dollars of a budget, and it could just be right beneath our feet. What do you guys think about that, and the concept that there could be these deep underground military bases all over the Americas, and that they had made it in preparation for a possible extinction level event?
Well, it doesn't surprise me at all. I mean, my mom and my dad both talked about it when I was growing up, about, like, you know, there are these underground cities, and now that, you know, I think there is a place that's very similar to that, if not that place, because it looks very similar, where all the retirement paperwork was going, and that can withstand a nuclear explosion, which is very interesting how they happen to have all these in different places. So
Reminds me of that movie.
Yeah.
That where they built the boats.
what movie is that?
I don't remember the name of it, but it was they were building several of these gigantic boats, kind of like Noah Ark type things. And they
2012?
Yeah, maybe that's what it was. And it was supposed to be floods and all kinds of tornadoes and earthquakes and stuff like that. And so they transported people all over to these boats, and they couldn't get everybody in, but you know.
Very sci-fi, but now that it's real, it's kind of interesting.
Oh yeah. Yeah, for all we know, they have those big old Noah's Ark boats in the China mountain somewhere, and they're just running by the 2012 script.
Yep.
All right, so here, this next video I think was very interesting, and hope you guys see why I would want to share it. It is bombshell allegations against Stephen Greer.
Patrick here with Vetted. I have an absolutely crazy video for y'all today. It seems that Dr. Stephen Greer may be a double agent working for Mossad, Israeli's secret service. At least that's according to a guest on a recent episode of the Danny Jones podcast. And please hit that like button, Vetters. That really helps out the videos. And of course, if you're not already subscribed, hit that subscribe button, y'all. We're trying to get to 100,000 subscribers by the end of the year. I think we can do it. All right, so let's jump in with the first part of this clip, and I'll see you on the other side.
Some of the stuff Greer says is so crazy, and he's like a guy who he's really easy to dismiss.
I've got that printout papers there for you.
Which ones?
It should be below the rain-sown stuff.
These.
Yeah, if you want to pull that up.
But, like, I mean, he's been on this stuff for so long.
He has, and he's never produced anything of actual worth. There you go. There's a good one. I thought you might appreciate that. May not be something you want to put.
Emily and Stephen Greer, Haifa, Israel. Emily Kramer and Stephen Greer were married Saturday at Baha'i World Center. The bride is the daughter of Miss Douglas Kramer of Palm Beach, Florida, and the late Dr. Cromler. She graduated from the University of Pennsylvania and received a master's degree in occupational therapy from Boston University. She was employed by the Peace Corps in Barbados. The bridegroom is the son of Mr. and Mrs. James Greer of 1201 Princeton Avenue. He attended the Appalachian State University and is employed in the Information Processing Department at Baha'i World Center. After a trip through Israel, the couple live in Haifa and work at the Baha'i World Center.
Yeah, that's the original marriage notice. Baha'i was regarded as an intelligence gathering operation for Mossad.
And Stephen Greer worked for these people.
And he worked for them. He started with those people. Then he got
This is
funded by
before he was an emergency room doctor?
You know, I've done a lot of research on Stephen Greer. I don't want to make any claims that get me in any kind of trouble about Stephen Greer, but it doesn't look to me like he had enough time to even medical school and a residency. And certainly the old newspaper articles don't refer to him as Dr. Greer. It's like he goes right into UFO stuff. So if he worked, there's indication he worked for a very short time at a small hospital in western North Carolina and then went directly into shilling UFOs for Rockefeller.
Holy shit.
Now, if you go to the next page, that's one you might not want to... Don't say
Rights?
it out loud. No, do you want to say
Why
it
can't I say it?
Well, okay,
Right.
it's your podcast, man.
And stay with me because there's more to this clip that we'll get to in just a moment. But let's break this down first. All right, so basically the gist is that this guest on Danny Jones' podcast is saying that Stephen Greer might be a secret agent working for Mossad, right? The Israeli Secret Service. Kind of implanted in, you know, working for Rockefeller to investigate UFO, just kind of throw in, may not even be a doctor. You know what I mean? This is a lot going on here, right? So let's break this down a little bit. So first we have this gentleman on Danny Jones' podcast. Well, who is this guy making these claims, right? Well, he's right here, and he runs a YouTube channel called Museum of Terror, which you can find right here, right? I'll put a link in the description if you want to check it out and other videos he's done. Now, he's talking about this Baha'i Israel World Center, right? This sort of religious community that's in Israel, right? It's recognized by the Israeli government. And when I looked online, there says there's, quote, no evidence of this, you know, Baha'i World Center being involved with Mossad whatsoever, right? Okay. That's what Google says. Well, I did a little more digging, and I'm not saying this is definitive, but I found this news clip that was kind of interesting. Take a look.
12 members of the Baha'i faith have been arrested on suspicion of spying for Israel in Iran's northern Mazandaran province. Now, the Iranian news agency is reporting that 2 of the heads of the organization were trained at the World House of Justice located in the Baha'i Center in Haifa. Now, they set up a spy cell with other members of that organization. The Iranian Ministry of Intelligence saying the members of the organization communicated in secret, relying on the basis of messages sent from Haifa and what it calls the Zionist regime.
All right, so I'm not saying that's definitive, just, you know, throwing out details here. You make up your own mind, all right? So again, I'll put links in the description. You can go check all this out for yourself. I'm not saying that Mossad is involved with this Baha'i World Center in Israel at all. I'm just saying this is interesting. Some members were arrested for allegedly spying for Israel. So I don't know, right? But does that connect Stephen Greer to Baha'i? Right? I mean, in the sense of him being connected to Mossad. And would everyone at this Baha'i World Center be involved with Mossad, right? Probably not, right? But maybe a few people. I don't know. Does that mean that place is compromised? Was it compromised back then when Stephen Greer was there? I mean, there's so many questions to ask here, to be honest with you. But look, let's continue because Danny and this guest continue to talk about Greer, and this next part, I don't know if you're ready for this.
Holy shit.
Now, if you go to the next page, that's one you might not want to... Don't say
Rights?
it out loud. No, do you want to say
Why
it?
can't I say it?
Well, okay, it's your podcast, man.
Rights of homosexuals, opposite opinions, the National AIDS Hysteria Awareness Test. Okay. We thank you for publishing Associated Press coverage of the October 11th March for gay and lesbian civil rights. However, as part of our 75 marchers from Asheville, we would like to correct the important inaccuracy. Okay, so what is this about?
So that's an op-ed piece that Stephen Greer wrote about himself, and you can see the highlighted portions there.
Okay, oh, the highlighted portions. We feel that the struggle for our civil rights as gay and lesbian citizens is intricately linked to all struggles against racism, sexism, and anti-Semitism in the country and worldwide. We have fought and died for this country. We are its doctors.
Signed?
Signed by Dr. Stephen M. Greer, MD of Asheville.
Now, I have absolutely nothing against homosexual rights, anything like that. I completely agree with the premise.
Yeah.
But if someone's living a double life and doesn't bring that out and own that in this world, and you want to be believed about briefing the CIA and the president and all these people on UFOs, that's a little... His early life doesn't add up to me. Yeah. Look at the date on that versus the marriage.
He's not Jewish, is he?
I don't know. It may be.
Well, yeah, what's the date? Where's the date? Oh, October 16th, 1987.
And when's the marriage?
The marriage was...
I think you put it down.
The marriage was August 30th, 1979. Wow.
So what's his story? It doesn't add up if you go through old newspaper archives. That's all I can say. I don't want to editorialize it or give my opinion about, but he has never presented anything that worked out. The little Atacama alien, the any of that. He has been saying the same shit for decades and being given a platform, almost like a behavioral conditioning program.
Every one of his podcasts does millions of views too.
Is it organic? One thing I've noticed with social media,
it might be, but it might. Yeah,
a lot of bots. A lot of bots. A lot of media companies that will push you and make you look like you're bigger than you are, but it's hollow engagement.
Very interesting. Now, of course, I wanted to share that because we've shared some of those conversations he had like on Joe Rogan, and he's a prolific UFO expose guy, and there have been so many different things that have been showing up recently in terms of exponentially increasing the world's interest in UFOs and aliens and ancient technology and stuff. So I thought it was interesting, this concept that he could have ties to intelligence agencies and inconsistencies in his own personal backstory, which could show that there's more to meets the eye to this guy pushing all this alien agenda stuff.
Yeah.
This next video is how the next generation of blue beam technology is something the world is not going to be ready for. It's pretty crazy what they can do.
And you might think that they're going to be... Are you ready for blue beam technology? Well, it's out there. And you might think that they're going to be faking an alien invasion, but they're going to be doing so much more than that. And it's not only going to look real, it's going to feel real thanks to all of these directed energy weapons, thanks to all of these cell towers and the 5G. That's what they're there for, to target people and to make the blue beam feel real. And right now, they're basically practicing on conservatives, Christians, and purebloods. The purge is on. They're not just silencing and censoring people online. They're taking people out while they sleep at home. They're making it look like climate change or something else. But if you've been experiencing pain not associated with an injury, recurring back problems, recurring headaches, heart palpitations, chronic fatigue, they're coming after you. The only way to make it stop is with military-grade EMF shielding. But the problem is that you can't buy that anywhere online. You have to make it yourself. And so our recommendation to everybody out there is to start preparing for next generation warfare, because that asymmetric war has already begun, and they've become rather efficient at killing people using this technology. This is why we've written the guide, the book on how to survive Skynet-driven energy weapons. It's called Transhuman Genocide, the ultimate guide to directed energy weapons, EMF shielding, and artificial intelligence. You can find it on Amazon or on Patreon.
So this going hand in hand with why I shared the Greer expose video, because as this technology and the ability for them to project holograph images or holograms or whatever you want to call it, blue beam technology that can make something like an alien invasion look real, it's important to be aware that this technology exists and it's very quickly becoming more advanced, especially with AI doing the number crunching and making what used to take thousands of man hours of programming and graphics work can be done lickety split.
That's crazy.
Here's another clip. I wanted to share this because they included a scene from one of your dad's speeches, and this is regards to the WikiLeaks. This is good old John Pounders, but he used one of your dad's clips, and I thought it was a pretty good one.
Now, from Hillary, it says requesting documents pertaining to the resurrection chamber at Gilgamesh, the location of his body and the location of the buried Nephilim.
And in 2003, April 2003, coincidentally 1 month before we set up the military occupation phase in Iraq, and the first thing our troops did was raid the Museum of Iraq, and 170,000 items were reported stolen. Of those, most of them were returned. The ones that were not returned were about 3,000 items that all dealt with resurrection and the afterlife. Probably just a coincidence. That's right after they found the tomb of Gilgamesh. And if the stories are to be believed, the body was found, believed to be Gilgamesh, and incredibly well preserved, and the primary objective was to extract DNA.
The idea of the resurrection or resuscitation, the Egyptians held this. This is one of the basic concepts behind mummification, that they believed that these could be brought back to life at some point in time. And the ancient beliefs are being pursued through science. And the whole concept of transhumanism and uploading consciousness into machines, I mean, this is still, it's an ancient belief, but this is still something that is being hotly pursued.
WikiLeaks, when they leaked.
Yeah, I wanted to share that because it kind of goes along with this advanced technology, blue beam technology, alien technology. There's an effort by government organizations to hide these archaeological mysteries, and it's likely because in association with these ancient figures, they're uncovering secret knowledge. And so that's why we see the cover-up, but not only that, we see the rise of the interest of genetic manipulation through mRNA technology. And if they're finding these ancient superhumans, so to speak, preserved in these tombs, then they're likely trying to unlock the genome so that they can figure out how to apply it to humans walking around today.
Yep.
So this next clip is more on some government cover-ups and rumors, and this is something that came out from the Hill. Check this out.
The Hill of a secretive project within the Department of Defense involving the manipulation of human genetics with what is described as non-human genetic material, potentially for the enhancement of human capabilities, hybrids. With Immaculate Constellation, how does this relate to UAP activities, Mr. Schellenberg, in oceanic environments? Are there any instances where the Navy or other maritime forces have encountered UAPs that could not be explained by known technology or natural phenomena?
Yeah, the Immaculate Constellation covers both terrestrial and oceanic, and there's actually a number of cases described in the report that occur in the ocean.
And do you believe that there is a concerted effort by the Pentagon to keep Congress out of the loop regarding these UAP activities, specifically in our waters?
Yes.
Are there any accounts of UAPs emerging from or submerging into our water, which could indicate a base or presence beneath the ocean's surface?
I don't know about a base, but as I mentioned, I had a different source entirely describe this pretty extraordinary footage that exists of orbs, of an orb coming out of the ocean and being met by another orb.
There are rumors that have come up to the Hill.
Very interesting. So it's all kind of getting lumped together. And Jeremiah, I'd guarantee you almost that this woman on the Hill, this Congresswoman, likely has interacted with at least some of your dad's research. In considering what she's talking about, I bet you she's heard at least one or two of his videos.
Well, I will tell you, I did post a clip of her saying something about the flat earth, and it's our most viewed video on TikTok. That same person, which I think that's Bobert is her last name, I think. She's pretty cool.
Very interesting. We're seeing more and more things come to light. Here's this next clip, which is a discussion about some conspiracies of a different fashion. Check this out.
Women, because of something, maybe a pheromone, maybe some odor of the pregnant woman, actually increases the man's prolactin when they're pregnant, puts body weight on the guy, starts laying down body fat, presumably to prepare the father for the long sleepless nights ahead, because humans have always co-parented.
Wow.
The husbands of pregnant...
So, I had to slip that in there. Putting on Papa weight is actually a conspiracy. It goes to the deep recesses of our genetic code, which is to prepare, me as a father and all you fathers out there for the long sleepless nights of having a newborn child. And I used to say this, but now this guy's, backing it up with some expertise. But I think it's really interesting because when I think of like 1,000, 2,000 years ago, where people are living in teepees on the Serengeti or whatever, and there's saber-toothed tigers and lions and raptors coming after you. You have to have some extra energy, some extra oomph to protect your family, because that baby's gonna be screaming, drawing unnecessary attention from predators. Your wife's gonna be down and out. She went through the heck of it trying to get the baby there in the first place. So I just wanted to share, that there is a physiological excuse for getting a little bit of this, fatherly chub. But in a more serious, related conspiracy, check out this clip regarding a documentary I've mentioned and suggested multiple times before. But because my wife is pregnant, it's something I'm thinking about once again. And it is the documentary The Business of Being Born.
Has had children. Then you gotta watch this video. This is shocking.
In the hospital, you're not allowed to have very long labors. So if you're not dilating rapidly, which you're likely not to do if you get an epidural early in labor, you will be given Pitocin. They'll put the Pitocin in the IV. It will flow into your veins. Pitocin makes contractions longer and stronger and closer together. So then the pain of labor is much worse. So you go with that for a while because you have the epidural, but eventually the pain of the contractions is overwhelming the epidural. You need to up the epidural, and then labor slows down more because of that, so then you need more Pitocin. Now you're not feeling the pain of the extra Pitocin because you've got the epidural, but your baby is getting compressed blood and oxygen supply because Pitocin contractions last so long and are so strong, the blood and oxygen flow to the baby is compromised. So then the baby's likely to go into distress, and then you're sent off for an emergency cesarean from a baby in distress from contractions induced by the Pitocin, which was necessitated by the epidural.
Step by step, one intervention leads to a series of interventions, and the net result is the mother finally ends up with a cesarean, and everybody says, thank God we were able to do all those interventions to save your baby. The fact of the matter is, if they didn't start the cascade of interventions, none of that would have been necessary.
There is clearly an association with induction of labor and cesarean delivery.
If you know...
Yeah, so conspiracy all in itself, and even in doing some research, personally, my family and I, we don't consume porcine products because of Leviticus 11, right? Well, there is some that put forward that Pitocin, which is the number one go-to medicine to start and stop labor, is supposedly just animal hormone. from its derivative, but some people's research has turned up that it likely could be derived from pig semen. So Pitocin, this thing that is the go-to thing that is injected into pregnant women, could be derived from an animal protein which is made from pig semen, and that's what's causing all of the, the distress that leads people to have cesarean C-sections and such. So just a crazy area. I was told once that they get you 3 times in life in terms of the man, getting his pound of flesh. They get you when you're born, very expensive to have children. They get you when you get married, so it's very expensive to, hire people to do a wedding, and all of our societal, norms, want us to put a lot of money into that. And then they also get you when you die. So funeral costs and all that are outrageous. And so these 3 major moments oftentimes have some of the most interesting conspiracies woven into them as topics, just because that's the time you find a lot of pounds of flesh being taken, and when you have the love of money therein, you oftentimes find a root of evil. So this next video I thought was very interesting. It's the throwback to the mother of Nephilim according to apocryphal texts. And since we are covering today briefly this concept of genetic manipulation and the corruption of flesh through mRNA technology today, I wanted to get a little backstory as to this woman who made some exchanges in order to become one of the first wives of the fallen angels here. So
those who dwell in tents and have livestock. Okay, so he learned these crafts. His brothers were Jubal, and he was the father of all who play the lyre and the pipe. So he had music. And Lamech's other wife, Zillah, she gave birth to Tubal-Cain. And Tubal-Cain is the one that learned how to do blacksmithing and weaponry. Okay, so he learned how to forge bronze and iron. And it says there, the sister of Tubal-Cain is Nama. So it says these guys are the father of this, father of this, father of this, and then their sister is Nama. So what made her stand out? Why they mentioned her? Well, according to the Zohar, she was the wife of one of the fallen. And if you look in Enoch, they were taking wives, right? And Enoch explains more in depth as to what the fallen were and the Nephilim were and all this stuff. And it explains in Enoch chapter 6, 7, and 8 that the Watchers were taking wives and they exchanged technology and arts and the hidden mystery of all this stuff in exchange for these women. So in particular, there's one called Azazel. Okay, so it says there that Azazel taught forging, just like Tubal-Cain learned. He knew the arts. Now, I found it interesting that Nama was mentioned in the Bible as being the sister of the ones who had all this technology, all this information. And she's also in the Zohar listed as one of the queens of demons, is what they're referred to as. So they're the father of all this tech. She's the wife of one of the fallen who gave the tech to her family in exchange for her. And if they're the father of this technology, she's the mother of demons, right? Of the Nephilim. So I thought that was really fascinating how you find the context clue in the Bible. That Nama's mentioned, her family has been given all these secrets, this technology, and that she's in the list of the Zohar. So that, for me, that gave me a little nod that the Zohar list of these women might be pretty legit. Ada gave birth to Jabal. He was the father of those who dwell in tents and have livestock. Okay, so he learned these crafts. His brothers were Jubal, and he was the father of all who play the lyre and the pipe. So he had music.
Okay, so obviously I'm sharing that because you see a connection in the ancient texts, the scriptures, of an exchange of goods and technology for a return of genetic intertwining. So you have this ancient primordial witch Nama, who's mentioned kind of out of the blue. Like, there's a lot of ladies that aren't mentioned, but her name came out specifically for likely this reason, that she was a prime figure in this transgression of the fallen ones coming down and intermixing with mankind. And the specific promise of technology and secret information in return for getting a wife that the fallen angels offered is really showing today likely why we're seeing the push for this corruption genetically of mankind, but also an interesting rise in technology hand in hand with the genetic corruption. You have the implementation of AI to allow that to even be possible, to the extent where they could modify human genomes and create designer you-know-whats. So I thought that was very fascinating. Now this next video, in 1997, a phone call was made into a radio station of somebody making claims who had worked in Area 51, warning about the programs that were going on, and it ties right in with some of our other videos today. So check this out.
Hi. I don't have a whole lot of time.
Well, look, let's begin by finding out whether you're using this line properly or not.
Area 51.
Yeah, that's right. Were you an employee or are you now?
A former employee.
Former employee.
I was let go on a medical discharge about a week ago, and I've kind of been running across the country. Oh man, I don't know where to start. They're gonna they'll triangulate on this position really soon.
You can't spend a lot of time on the phone, so give us something quick.
Okay. Okay. What we're thinking of as aliens are they're extra-dimensional beings that an earlier precursor of the space program made contact with. They are not what they claim to be. They have infiltrated a lot of aspects of the military establishment, particularly the Area 51. The disasters that are coming, the military, the government knows about them, and there's a lot of safe areas in this world that they could begin moving the population to now aren't.
But they're not doing anything.
They are not. They want the major population centers wiped out so that the few that are left will be more easily controllable.
Discharge.
I started getting...
Very interesting. So that was an alleged call from an employee working behind the scenes, and just his description of kind of the agenda and where this is all heading, if it was an accurate testimony and not some kind of psyop thing. Very, very interesting indeed. Now, this next video is our last longer video for today, and it's once again looking at this topic of World War III and news regarding this attack between India and Pakistan.
Well, Trump, I think we have a clip of what he's had to say.
Is there any reaction to the attacks between India and Pakistan?
No, it's a shame. We just heard about it just as we were walking in the doors of the Oval. Just heard about it. I guess people knew something was going to happen based on a little bit of the past. They've been fighting for a long time. You know, they've been fighting for many, many decades.
Any message to
and centuries, actually, if you really think about it. No, I just hope it ends very quickly.
Mr. President, are you considering adding a stop in Israel
during next week's trip to the Middle East? And also, what's your reaction to Israel's plan to reoccupy Gaza if there is no ceasefire deal?
Well, the plan we haven't talked about, but we're not planning on something.
We'll leave that news conference there with Donald Trump. Neville Lazarus still with us in New Delhi. We heard the president there saying it's a shame. We just heard about the India strikes against Pakistan. People knew something was going to happen. Hope it ends very quickly, is what he had to say.
We now understand that Pakistan has responded from the air and the ground. And I think the main point, just to ram home to people right now, DeMarco, is that these are two giant nuclear nations. Now, they've been at war in the past, particularly over Kashmir, but India and Pakistan have been, coming out with pretty fiery rhetoric within the last few days since this attack in Indian-administered Kashmir,
there's some high kicks
which
right there.
India blames on Pakistan, but Pakistan once again says it had no involvement at all. But this is a very, very dangerous situation. We have seen these two nations go to war in the past, but at the moment this is developing right now, and there seems to be a tit-for-tat across the border between India and Pakistan. Once again, two giant nuclear-armed nations.
And gentlemen and lady, I should say. All right, Tom, thank you very much. Shannon, there have been long-standing tensions between India and Pakistan, specifically over the disputed region of Kashmir. What are the biggest concerns now that the countries are exchanging fire?
Well, the concern right now here at the State Department is that this volley that we're seeing exchanged right now, that this is just the beginning.
And as per the initial reports, there are casualties, including women and children. The detailed damage assessment is being done, and Pakistan has a right to respond. Pakistan will respond, as I've said before.
Does he look like
an
Lincoln?
apprehension that India will attack.
Yeah, he's
Pakistan has never struck
Pakistani Lincoln.
first, but we have the right to self-defense.
Hey guys, this is Nemo. I think I can prove that Atlantis really existed. So my theory on that Atlantis existed is something I did not ever believe in until I started researching something else about Atlantis. I did not believe that the rings in Africa were Atlantis until I thought about something I had researched before about green glass being in Sahara Desert. Well, the rings, I believe, were Atlantis, and I believe something along the lines of a nuclear bomb or something like a nuclear bomb sunk not only Atlantis, but also Mu or Lemuria, whichever was their enemy.
The Atlantis, creators were these basically like angelic, hyper-intelligent beings, and they were met with an untimely disaster. And really, personally, I just think it's referencing a time before the flood of Noah, where mankind likely had advanced technologies and they were gathered together.
I think I heard that they were doing maintenance on the moon, and the maintenance guy put it on upside down.
Oh, that guy's probably got fired by now. So, guys, today, first of all, I just want to say thank you to all the guys who called in, and people, please, we would love to hear your questions and discussion. It makes our live stream fun for us and gets to interact with you guys. So you saw the number. Make sure to leave a voice message for next week, and we'd love to interact with you. But today's kind of news coverage, it's very interesting. We're going to talk a little bit more about this Mahdi figure. He had an interaction with Donald Trump recently that's kind of entertaining. And I have been researching this gentleman's doctrines, his theology, watching a lot of his teachings online. And I found what could have been an error he made a year ago in his quotations of the book of Revelation. So I was going to want to share that discovery. And I wanted to posit the question because he also has put out the offer for anybody to be willing to question him, and that they would respond by video. And so this is my formal video inquiry regarding that topic that we're about to check out. But first, Okay, so I wanted to share that because this was a message from the Mahdi figure.
We see that Trump actually posted on his official Truth Social site an AI image of him as Pope. And quite frankly, we just believe that he's trolling you at this point.
Yes, we do. And we were just wondering if you had anything to say on the matter, any sort of feedback that you could give us about what's going on.
So I think that I would like to take the opportunity to actually do something that the Prophet Muhammad had done before, and that was when the religion of Islam had first started. The Prophet Muhammad he actually addressed the different kings and emperors of the world, and he sent them letters and he sent them messengers inviting them to the religion of God and the religion of Islam. And I would like to take this opportunity to address the Emperor of the United States of America, Emperor Trump. I would like to invite him towards the Ahmadi religion of peace and light. I would like to invite him towards the Dawah and the religion of Imam al-Mahdi, the seventh covenant. If he does so, he'll find in their goodness. He will have an opportunity to be a great ruler. He won't have an opportunity to be Pope, unfortunately, because I already claimed that. And so the person who claims it first is the true claimant, and the person who claims afterwards is a false claimant. So he cannot be the true Pope. I'm the true Pope. That's done. It's over. It's non-negotiable. And I'm the representative of God on earth. But
so I shared that just because the humorous interaction between him and the claim of Trump's meme and him shooting down Trump as a false claimant because he seconded his first claim, which I guess it's the first to the finish line kind of deal.
Yeah, I didn't know that's how the Pope worked. It's just whoever says it first is Pope.
Yeah, I mean, I guess so. At least that's what Abdullah is claiming here.
Well, Charlie claimed it first, so I don't know. Those claims may not be accurate.
This next video is his extending the invite for people to ask questions, to engage with him, and so I want to share this first because I've been reviewing his content, and we have somebody, Ronan Torah here, claimed Pope to be Pope 3 years ago. Well, see, I don't know if it's just finders keepers because the old Pope was still alive. So I think it's like upon the death of the previous Pope, as soon as that happens, if you jump on it, it's all yours. It seems to be how it works. But yeah, unless the false Pope was in fact a imposter, then Ronan, you might have had a shot back then. But anyways, so this next clip is him extending friendship and peace and welcoming questioning.
To bring forth from this point forward fruitful conversations. And anybody who wants to talk to me about anything, I invite them to come to the table. I'm just saying that give me a chance to explain. Sit at the table with me and let's talk. Present, ask, request, what do you want us to talk about, and we will talk about it. Make videos and let us make videos in response to it. Let's arrange something. Go ahead, travel out here and let's sit at the table and have a conversation. Let's do something for the betterment of all mankind. I extend.
Initially, I think it's important to identify what somebody is teaching, what they're claiming. And so I've been very thorough, well, not entirely thorough. I've still, there's hundreds and hundreds of hours of content that they've had online. And just in the few that I've watched, I did find something that brought up my first question that if I had the opportunity, I would ask Abdullah. Ronan Torah asked if we're going to invite him on the show. I don't know if he does guest appearances, but I wouldn't be opposed to having a conversation. Maybe we could get Ronan Torah on here to have a conversation with us. But anyways, what I found was in his teaching titled The Lost Tribes of Israel,
and my name is Ahmed,
which is obviously an interest to me just based on our understanding of the Ephraim awakening and some of the very things that your father talked about, Jeremiah, that I fully agree with. The concept that the northern house of Israel spread across the earth does not fully represent all that have come back to the nation state as it is. And he addresses a lot of things that I can agree with. But in his teaching, I found an inconsistency. And my first question would be regarding a status as a claimed prophet. Are prophets inerrant in the current age? So the information that he presents to the world, is he able to make mistakes in the way that he orates it? And if that's the case, is this a mistake in his teaching the lost tribes of Israel in reference to a topic in the book of Revelation?
I am Muhammad, and my name is Abdullah. And then he says, and I am Muhammad. That's what the old tribes of Israel end up being gathered again.
And so he's talking about here at the end of the video, the prophetic regathering of the 12 tribes of Israel as referenced. I believe he's referencing the book of Revelation. And in this, he mentioned something that stood out to me because I've had this question for a long time, and you'll see it here in a moment.
When Jesus returns, yeah.
When Jesus returns,
yeah.
And when the Son of Man, the states, gathers them.
Yes.
And there are 12,000 from every one of those tribes. 12,000 from the tribe of Judah, 12,000 from the tribe of Simeon, 12,000 from the tribe of Reuben, 12,000 from Dan, and
all right, so there we go. He mentioned in the end times that there will be a gathering of 12,000, 12,000, 12,000, and the only place we see the specific number 12,000, 12,000 is in the book of Hiseon or Revelation, and he mentioned specifically the tribe of Dan is one of the tribes gathered. And this is a question for me, because when you read the book of Revelation, of all the tribes gathered, the one tribe that is not specifically mentioned is the tribe of Dan. And yet he's claiming
12,000 from the tribe of Reuben, 12,000 from Dan, and
that 12,000 from Dan will be regathered. And yet when we read the text, the book of Revelation, and I'm, of course, I'm open to learning, but as you see here, the tribe of Dan is missing from the list of 12 tribes sealed in the Revelation 7 chapter. It doesn't explicitly state why. And so my first question would be, one, was this an error in your description of the book of Revelation? Two, is there an alternative understanding of why you believe the tribe of Dan is included in this sealing of the tribes, as mentioned in the book of Revelation? And why did you include them in your teaching, referencing this scene when the tribe of Dan wasn't listed in the text? And if there is manuscripts or documents that list the tribe of Dan, what are those that you have access to? And if not, furthermore, why would the tribe of Dan be missing from the manuscripts we have of the book of Revelation? Because it's been a question I've had for a very long time. So that's my little conundrum for Abdullah, the Mahdi figure that has come onto the world stage after studying this out and listening to some of his teachings. This is, I guess, my first question I would want to posit towards him, because it seems to be either an error or I'm misunderstanding, and I'd like to have him enlighten me on the topic. And just to show you what I'm talking about in the actual chapter of Revelation, you can look through. Here are all the tribes that are mentioned, and of all of them, the tribe of Dan is not mentioned once. And in his teaching regarding their gathering and the sealing of these tribes, he referenced Dan, and they are not referenced here at all. So that is my first question, and we'll just leave it at that, and we're going to carry on to some other topics now. But just as you can see here, once again, of course, he does
12,000
say
from the tribe of Reuben, 12,000 from Dan, and
yeah. All right, so just wanted to point that out as a question, and I'm going to withhold from scoffing and belittling and calling this guy the Antichrist, as many people are doing. But I do want to point out an inconsistency and a question that I would like to have answered. All right, so let's carry on here to some other stories. We have the rise of AI attacking. It's not the fire that's dangerous, it's blind obedience. Check out what they can do with this flock of goats.
Blind obedience.
Wow. Okay, so this next thing I wanted to share is very interesting. Apparently, there's an O'Keefe Media Group news release coming next week that he's worried he's going to get, offed or sewer slided, and he gave it to Alex Jones to kind of be a doomsday switch. If anything happens to them, Alex is putting it out. But I just wanted to show you guys Alex discussing this. So I'm looking forward to seeing what it is. Well, that was the last story for today, guys. But we have several hundred people watching. We had a moment ago until our numbers just bumped down. But anyways, if you guys who are watching, please click the like button and share this out with your friends and family, and make sure to call in to the call-in number for next week's broadcast, because we love to interact with you guys.
Thank you, Jake, for another great current news as always. Now, a quick look at our Babylon Rising bookstore.
Check out our new and improved BabylonRisingBooks.com, where you can get Rob Skiba's books, bundles, DVDs, DVD-ROMs, videos, and so much more. You can even get Sheila and Jeremiah's books, so check it out now.
Got something in the mail today, so can I open it up? See what it is. Look at that. Charlie, look at this. Look. That's you. Charlie's Big Adventures Around the World or Not. We're gonna flip through it. Look at all that. That looks really good. Look at those things.
Here they are.
The two famous boys. So those are now available at the Babylon Rising bookstore, and the first 40 people that buy it on BabylonRisingBooks.com will get a signed copy. So same price, but they'll get a signed copy. So yeah, it's about that time for an all-new Opa's Corner. Take it away, Opa.
Mein Hut, der hat 3 Ecken. 3 Ecken hat mein Hut. Und hat nicht 3 Ecken, dann ist es nicht mein Hut.
The strange, the bizarre, the unexpected. These are the kinds of subjects a man named Robert L. Ripley challenged us to believe it or not.
Believe it or not.
Believe it or not, you.
Wally, believe it or not.
Believe it or not.
Believe it! You're a loony.
Henry VIII knighted all 4 of his grooms of the stool, the people in charge of wiping his derriere for him. I knight thee, Sir Heine of York. Believe it or not. In ancient Egypt, servants were smeared with honey so flies would flock to them instead of the Pharaoh. Sticky business. Believe it or not. It was once considered sacrilegious to use a fork. God made those fingers for something. Believe it or not. Abraham Lincoln was a champion wrestler and a licensed bartender. Shirley Temple, please. Believe it or not. The Leaning Tower of Pisa never stood up straight. Honey, that's still a little crooked. A little to the left, please. Believe it or not. Cleopatra was Greek with Macedonian ancestry, not Egyptian. Queen of Denial. Believe it or not. The longest year in human history, 46 BC, clocked in at 445 days long. Thought my birthday would never get here. Believe it or not. In the 1740s, Roman Catholics formed a secret society dubbed the Order of the Pug. Members had to sport dog collars and scratch at the door. Believe it or not. Montana has 3 times as many cows as it does people. Moo. Believe it or not. Alaska is the westernmost and easternmost state in the United States because its Aleutian Islands span across the 180th meridian. The international dateline, folks. Believe it or not. Mary, of Mary Had a Little Lamb fame, was a real person, and the song was based on a true story. Wonder if Little Red Riding Hood was a friend. Believe it or not. Monaco's orchestra is bigger than its army. Da-da, da-da, da-da-da-da-da. Believe it or not. Tennis was originally played with bare hands. Ooch. Believe it or not. In Russia, beer was considered a soft drink, not alcohol, until 2011. Dr. Bud, please. Believe it or not. Don't bring your crystal ball to Maryland. Fortune-telling is illegal in the state. Believe it or not. Elmer Fudd's original name was Egghead. Believe it.
Oh, Elmer Fudd.
Forget bald eagles. The turkey was once almost named the national bird. Kind of fits, doesn't it? Believe it or not. Time stops at the speed of light. Now, how do they really know? Believe it or not. Elvis only won 3 Grammys. out of 14 nominations. Believe it
All for gospel
or
albums.
not. The speed of a computer mouse is measured in Mickeys. Today, I'm going to read some amusing responses from children finishing common phrases such as, "If at first you don't succeed." So, let's get started. A friend in need is a bummer. He who laughs last laughs on and on. If at first you don't succeed, they'll do it for you. Opportunity knocks, but no one answers. A bird in the hand is a snake. A bird in the hand is worth nothing. A friend in need is a friend with nothing. Two's company, three's a ball. It's better to be safe than to be hit by your mom and dad. Don't put all your eggs in your shoe. Don't put all your eggs in somebody's nose.
That's good
You
advice.
can lead a horse to water, but you can't get him in a swimsuit. Eat, drink, and be a fat kid. If at first you don't succeed, forget it. A pitcher is worth 1,000 grand. It's easier to catch flies with honey than with a goat. Don't change horses until they stop. Strike when the bug is close. It's always darkest before daylight savings time. Don't bite the hand that looks dirty.
That's good advice.
No news is impossible. You can't teach an old dog new math. The pen is mightier than pigs. An idle mind is the best way to relax. Where there's smoke, there's pollution. A penny saved is not much. There are none so blind as Stevie Wonder. When the blind lead the blind, get out of the way. Two's company, three's the Three Musketeers. Never underestimate the power of termites. To make the Kindle seem more book-like, the latest version includes a paper cut option. Ow! In a matter of seconds, Steve's social life was reduced to that of a pond scum. Stevie! Sweet arms! You forgot your lunch, honey. Don't forget to brush after you eat. Yeah, Carlo. You can play with him a little. But by the end of tonight, I want Jimmy the Mouse gone. Through mostly grunts and exaggerated gestures, two fishermen-gatherers attempt to communicate. How would you like to have your root canal done totally free of charge? Trainee.
Yeah. At the pass.
Dad, you're not listening. I want to be a doctor. You will dance naked in front of car dealerships, and that's the end of this discussion. Pet psychiatrist's waiting room. Dogs. Cats.
Yeah.
This condition could be hereditary. Does stupidity run in your family? You fellas have been fine tenants, so I'll get your deposit back to you. By the way, whatever happened to your other roommate? And hey, where did that big Persian rug go? Sir, the Curiosity rover's stuck on something. No idea what it is.
Oh, Marvin.
TV 37 News. Veteran newscaster crushed by ceiling beam. More at 11. According to her papers, she's free range until February 12th, when she's supposed to report to KFC. Folks, our mechanics are waiting for one little repair to firm up a bit, and then we'll be on our way. Dogopoly. Looks like Charlie owns Park Place now. I can't believe he's gone. I was playing with him just before he left us. Andy's Toy and Hobby Shop. His wish to be a real person granted, the Visible Man takes his first steps into the real world, not suspecting that most people, upon seeing him, would either faint or throw up. Nobody could clip coupons like Helen Struben. What the? According to this, we owe you $4.79. I know this is a budget meeting, but can we talk about poop? Yeah, we need to poop on cars, people, and... Guys, take that discussion offline. Sorry, Your Highness, but you're really not the dictator of Lithuania, a small European republic. In fact, there is no Lithuania. The hordes of admirers, the military parades, this office, we faked it all as an experiment in human psychology. In fact, Your Highness, your real name is Edward Belcher, from Long Island, New York, and it's time to go home, Eddie. Look, he left his keys right there. Now's our chance to escape. Have you ever driven a car before? Oh my God! My food has been poisoned! Dude, we're rattlesnakes. Our food has always been poisoned. Why there are no pyramids in the Arctic. So these space dudes were here yesterday offering to teach us to build these big pointy things. And we're like, whatever. Southwest Sleep Center. Okay, Miss Tully. We want you to relax, get a good night's sleep, and we'll evaluate any sleep issues that you have. Bernice? Glenda Prattner in 27B. Hey, take a look out your dining room window and see if my air conditioner is hanging nearby, and try to haul it inside. Research and development. Fire is invented. I told you getting your tongue pierced was a dumb idea. Basket list. Nailed it. Free Wi-Fi. The signal is still weak. I'm gonna move just a little closer. Please do not eat in the library. The ants will get in. They will learn how to read. Then they will get too smart. Knowledge is power. Power corrupts. So, the ants will turn evil and take over the world.
I already have.
Oh, nice hot cup of coffee in the morning. This ladder is really unstable. Okay, boys, hurry up. We're late for school. And that concludes another Opa's Corner. Opa's Corner is now available on my own YouTube channel. Like, share, and subscribe.
Thank you, Opa, for another great Opa's Corner. And this week's History's Mysteries is brought to you by Corporate Bloom. So check this out. Hey, Skiba News Nation family, we're excited to announce something cool with you guys. We are now teaming up with Corporate Bloom. They have a new system that puts over 30 AI tools all in one place. Normally priced at $29.99, you can try it out now and get 25% off with your first month using code Skiba at checkout. This helps with beta testing, and you get to use some amazing tools. Remember, use code Skiba at checkout. We can't wait to see what you guys come up with and what you create with it. So check out corporatebloom.com. It's time for an all-new History's Mysteries. So this week's History's Mysteries, we're going to be talking about this man in the middle right here. His name is James Earl Ray. Everybody knows James Earl Ray. He allegedly killed Dr. Martin Luther King Jr., but what if I told you that that story doesn't quite add up, especially anymore, after all the documents released? And so let's just get into it with this first clip, which I call Questioning the Official Narrative. So check this out. So with all these documents being released, all three of these men right here, I call it my list of patsies, because they all sound exactly the same and they all have ties to the feds. And it blows my mind that, you know, more people aren't looking into this. And as I was researching this topic, something really blew my mind. And it's these next two clips, but this first clip, Opa, what if I told you that Martin Luther King Jr.'s closest friends don't believe James Earl Ray killed Martin Luther King Jr.?
That's very interesting.
Well, let's play this next clip.
Martin King would have gone to visit him. I knew this.
United Methodist pastor and activist James Lawson lost his close friend Martin Luther King in 1968 to an assassin's bullet. When James Earl Ray was named as King's murderer, Lawson wanted to model love, not hate.
I started visiting with him simply and tried to befriend him. The motivation was simple. I did not see it as something apart from the love of God or the love of Jesus.
Over years of prison visits and getting to know the accused, Lawson formed his own opinion.
Beyond a shadow of a doubt, James Earl Ray was not the assassin or the planner. He was not a racist. Andrew Young visited him, Ralph Abernathy went to visit him, Jesse Jackson made a visit to him, and there was a consensus among us that this man was not a racist.
Lawson became the hated man's pastor. He recalls a phone call from Ray's girlfriend Anna one night, which interrupted a family dinner and spurred him to action.
She said that James and I want to be married, we want you to do it. I turned around and sat back at the table, and our oldest boy, John, I asked the question, should I marry James Earl Ray in prison? And John said, if you believe that stuff you preach, you'll do it. So what could I say about that?
Lawson performed the prison wedding in 1978, and 20 years later, visited the inmate on his deathbed.
I spent an afternoon with him when he was very, very ill. And he died a few days after that. And of course, he let me know he wanted me to do his service, which I agreed to do. I knew that I had to carry on a ministry in the spirit of Martin King, but most of my nonviolent participation in practice is out of the sense of the presence of God and the Spirit of God, with Jesus as a major teacher. That's still my guideline. That's still the path of reflection that I take.
So that was one of his friends pretty much saying that James Earl Ray did not kill my friend Martin Luther King Jr. But what if I told you it got even crazier? What if I told you that his son and his family do not believe James Earl Ray killed Martin Luther King Jr.? Well, that's what I'm about to show you, so check this out.
That justice has run its course in this tragedy.
Her youngest son, Dexter, testified his father's death is a tragedy which still remains a mystery for him.
And it has always been a feeling that there are many unanswered questions that have not been addressed.
Dexter was only 6 when his father was shot and killed in Memphis. This man, James Earl Ray, confessed to the crime. Although he recanted the confession days later, he was sentenced to 99 years in jail without ever having a trial.
In a prison hospital in Nashville, Tennessee today, another remarkable moment of a different kind altogether. This was a face-to-face meeting between the son of the late Martin Luther King Jr. and the man who is serving a 99-year sentence for his assassination. Here's NBC's Frederica Whitfield.
Dexter King arrived at this Nashville prison to meet the man serving time for the death of his father, Dr. Martin Luther King.
Long anticipated visit.
The youngest son wanted to look into the eyes of a terminally ill James Earl Ray and ask one question in particular.
Did you kill my father?
No, I didn't know.
And then King offered this.
I believe you, and my family believes you, and we are going to do everything in our power to try and make sure that justice will prevail.
Their meeting became a 1-hour friendly encounter. King and Ray sat only 3 feet across from one another, King listened intently to a frail 69-year-old Ray who was battling liver disease. They talked briefly about Ray's health and of hope that the courts will soon give Ray the trial he never had. In 1969, Ray confessed to killing Dr. King, but later recanted, saying he was framed. Over the years, Ray has tried unsuccessfully to get a trial. Last February, the King family testified in Memphis to help reopen the case. An appellate court is now considering the request. Prison doctors have said without a liver transplant, Ray has only months to live, and no donor has been made available. That continues to heighten the King family's concern. Ray may never tell his version of the truth in court. After the meeting, King said it was a success.
I can now feel somewhat relieved that, you know, I heard with my own ears, I saw with my own eyes, not relying on a third party.
He said it was an experience the King family hoped would bring some closure, and Dexter King says for him, it did. Frederica Whitfield, NBC News, Nashville.
Dexter King, good morning to you.
Good morning.
Take me back to the moment when you reached out and shook James Earl Ray's hand. What was that like?
It was very moving, a feeling of relief to finally meet face-to-face with the man who has been accused, but has since, from the beginning, said he was innocent. I continue to hear that he confessed, and in fact, he didn't confess. He pled guilty, which is different, technically speaking.
So when you asked him, did you kill my father, in no uncertain terms, and he said, no, I did not, why do you believe him?
Well, I believe him because there's so much new evidence that has been presented to me and my family vis-a-vis his attorney, Bill Pepper. Also, the fact of the matter is, he has said from the beginning he was innocent. I asked him why he pled guilty. He said basically his attorney at the time cut a deal behind the scenes with the district attorney, and unbeknownst to him, he was forfeiting his rights to a trial. As soon as he found that out, 3 days later, he recanted and has since been trying to get a trial. So, spiritually speaking, I felt very moved by the meeting, because for me and my family, it brings us closer to the process of reconciliation, healing, and ultimately closure.
You mentioned your family. Your mother, Coretta Scott King, was not at the meeting. I'm sure you talked to her afterward. What was her impression?
Well, she felt it was a very courageous thing to do for all of us. I mean, I think spiritually speaking, my family was there. They were not there in the flesh, but physically, but spiritually, very much supportive. I think everybody felt proud of the fact that we were now closer firsthand, not through hearsay or third-party representatives, but closer to getting at this truth.
Dexter King's 1997 meeting with the man imprisoned for killing his father was a breakthrough in James Earl Ray's long fight to be heard. But many saw it as a bizarre, disturbing footnote to a great tragedy. 1 week after the meeting, on the eve of the 29th anniversary of the assassination, today's Matt Lauer spoke with Pulitzer Prize-winning King biographer David Garrow.
You said that the scene of James Earl Ray and Dexter King shaking hands was, quote, sad and surreal. Why?
Yes, Matt. I think it's very sad that the King family and the King children are so uninformed of the history that they could be open to believing that Mr. Ray was not involved in Dr. King's assassination. Mr. Ray was someone of long-standing racist, segregationist affiliations, and as the House Assassinations Committee very correctly concluded 19 years ago, Mr. Ray was probably the trigger man for a wider segregationist conspiracy to kill Dr. King.
But Dexter King and his family members are not the only people who've been asking questions for the last 29 years. If there are some doubts, why is it a betrayal to Dr. King's legacy to meet James Earl Ray face-to-face and at least try and get some answers to those questions?
Unfortunately, Matt, we can find people who will deny that slavery was bad for Afro-Americans. People will deny that the Holocaust happened in Europe. Unfortunately, people just don't have a good enough historical recollection of how many times, how thoroughly this has been investigated. Mr. Ray testified for 3 days on live national television in 1978, and I think it's fair to say, made a laughingstock of himself.
Mr. Garrow,
Mr. Ray could tell the truth if he chose to.
All right, hang on for 1 second, because joining us now is Dexter King. Dexter, good morning to you.
Good morning.
Mr. Garrow seems to think that you and your family members are being duped by James Earl Ray and his attorneys. What's your reaction?
Well, I'm very disturbed by his comments that anyone in this day and age of victims' rights would suggest that it is wrong for a family to question who killed their loved one. The fact of the matter is I guess I'm really not surprised because Mr. Garrow, for whatever reason, is doing his job. And frankly, he is an agent for those forces of suppression who do not want this truth to come forward.
Unfortunately, the King family has not looked at the record that the House Assassinations Committee compiled 19 years ago. There's really no dispute among people that know this history well about Mr. Ray's guilt. The real questions that we should be pursuing and that Mr. King should be putting to Mr. Ray are who encouraged and who funded Mr. Ray to kill Martin Luther King Jr. That should be our focus.
Dexter? I think what is really appalling here is that Mr. Garrow has built a platform on exploiting my father's legacy. If it were not for my family, Mr. Garrow would not have gained access to my father's papers and many other things that have given him a platform to speak out. And to now come back and say that we're misinformed is totally appalling.
What we have here and what people need to remember is that Mr. Ray, like other segregationist terrorists from the 1960s, did a tremendous amount of harm to the black freedom struggle. And for Mr. King to be misled into believing in mafia conspiracies is so unfortunately ignorant of the real history.
Dexter, I met Mr. Ray. He is not a segregationist. I've met segregationists. This man was not born in the South as the media portrayed at the time. The fact of the matter is he was born in Illinois. I met his family. They are not people who strike me as racist. The fact of the matter is this man was set up. And we need to deal with this so that we can move on. The American public deserves the right to know. Certainly the family of the victim deserves the right to know what happened to their loved one. We need to stop living in denial in this country.
Dexter?
And for once and for all face this injustice.
The Reverend Jesse Jackson agrees somewhat with Mr. Garrow in saying that James Earl Ray does not deserve a trial until he begins to tell the truth, among other things saying that Raoul never existed. Would you at least agree with that he does need to tell a little bit more of the truth before a trial is warranted?
Well, first of all, Raoul has been located. As I said, there's so many people who are talking about this case as if they're informed. They are the ones that are uninformed. They do not have the up-to-date, latest information.
So, this is what blows my mind. So, he confessed, recanted his confession, and a lot of people think, if you confess, that means that you did it. Well, it's actually very common for people to falsely confess because of whatever reason, but studies show it's very common for people to falsely confess, and I've seen shows on it. I know that it's been documented. And what are your thoughts so far, Opa?
Yeah, I think that obviously they're trying to continue their narrative that James Earl Ray was the bad guy, and a lot of that evidence and whatever was probably planted or made up or whatever to help their cause. And I think King Jr. is right that they should have a trial.
Yep.
Bring out the evidence, show us, prove it to us.
Yep. I mean, you're innocent until proven guilty. And up next we're going to be talking about other possible suspects, which we all kind of know after all this document stuff and all this stuff with Lee Harvey Oswald came out and his involvement with the feds and everything. But if you guys remember the JFK movie by Oliver Stone, you might remember a character called Mr. X. He was played by Donald Sutherland, who was the guy who told Jim Garrison, the main character, that he's on the right track. Well, this next clip is the real Mr. X. His name is General Fletcher Prouty. So let's hear what he has to say about all this. So check this out.
When there's an assassination, you have to have a lone nut, because a lone nut can kill somebody for no reason. If you admit that 3 or 4 people were involved, or that there was, to use an overworked term, conspiracy, then you have to say, well, the conspiracy had a reason. Well, they don't ever want to face that reason. What was the reason why Kennedy was killed? What was the reason why King was killed? By having a lone nut, you don't have to ask that question.
And I think all of us that study these assassinations ought to forget some names totally. One name is Oswald, another one is Sirhan,
Julian, another one is Ray. Forget them. Those poor guys were staged into this program. They had nothing to do with the assassination except be the fall guy. And as an assassination studier, student of assassination for 25 years, I tell you frankly, I could write the whole book on assassinations without using any one of those names. They're not relevant, other than as patsies. You see, none of these cases really get into the courts. And when they do, they're very abnormal cases. Consider the case in Los Angeles about the killing of Kennedy. The people most proximate to Kennedy at the time he was killed have never been questioned yet. I traveled to another country to talk to a young lady that was almost leaning on Bobby Kennedy at the time he was shot. She can tell you how he was killed. The courts have never talked to her. This cover-up pattern is enormous, and it's very effective. It closes everything down.
What's the technique for an assassin once the assassination has been completed? Where do they go? How do they operate then?
Well, obviously, the first thing is to bring in the hitman or the hitmen. Usually it's a triangulation affair so that you're sure you have the guns to do the job. You can't always say where your victim's going to be, so you place the guns in the right place and you're ready for it. But, you know, that's the easy part. Then you have to get them out of there. I think if you study, as we have hundreds and hundreds of photographs of these scenes, you'll find that there were certain people, for instance, that didn't run from the area, stood there casually, nothing happened. They have the assurance they're going to be picked up at the proper time and removed from the area. Now, undoubtedly, they're the killers. They're too smart to run and draw attention to it. They're too smart to jump in a car that speeds away. If there is a car that speeds away, that's a cover story. It's like the white Mustang. It's not the one that really did the job. And the press releases that are immediately put out lead you to the man in a sixth-floor window, while the man that really did the killing is right down there on the street waiting for somebody to pick him up casually and walk off. And just consider either of the Kennedy cases or the King cases, the thing you notice most is that the police stood with their hands down and did nothing. There were no on-the-spot detectives. There was nobody really looking into the ballistics. There was no one checking any of the things that the police would have gotten into in the first place. So there's where you begin to see the cover-up pattern. Somebody has told the police department, stay away from this. Now, they don't tell them that way. They say, look, because this was Mr. King in town, we have a special group of Secret Service or a special group of whatever here. And so the police think, well, it's covered. We're not needed. But in any event, they're away. Now, in Dallas, I know for a fact myself that there was an Army unit we intended to use in Dallas for protection on the streets, simply to watch everybody, watch the windows, watch everything. The commander of that Army unit had received a call, very simple call, saying, we don't need your unit. He knows there are other units, so he thinks they're going to use somebody else's unit. The next day, he found out there were no units there. Well, it's too late then, you see. Who made the call to that colonel?
The first person who arrived on the balcony after Dr. King was shot was an undercover policeman. We later discovered that he was working for the CIA. Is it possible that that man could have been placed by the CIA into the Memphis Police Department as a trainee?
Well, I think really to explain why this certain policeman would be the first man on the balcony and that kind of thing, you might turn it the other way around. He might have been the member of the Memphis Police Department that the CIA had trained, or somebody else from the government, FBI had trained, and here we're using a generic term more than we are a specific one. The training they get enables them to perform special jobs like this. For instance, think of other cases. When Bremer shot Governor Wallace, immediately an investigator went into his apartment in Milwaukee. When an airplane crashed with Howard Hunt's wife in Chicago, something like 70 FBI men immediately went to the wreckage of that plane. I don't know of any other airplane where even any FBI showed up, at the wreckage of it immediately. So when things like this take place, there is training behind it, and it's very skilled training, and it's training with key people. And that's what I meant by saying that by taking a large number of men as, quote, instructors and putting them in the Inter-American Police Academy, you can train members, select members of police establishments from all over the United States, but then they're taught special methods and everything, and mainly they go on your list. They're your contact man. And the contact man is the one who does these things that are, as you described, where the man goes up on a balcony. The first person there seemed to know why he was there and when to be there, things that look like magic otherwise. Why was he there? You see, he had advanced knowledge.
From your experience in Gunfletcher, do you think it conceivable that a secret intelligence unit could have planned and carried out the assassination of Martin Luther King?
You needn't have to include the word intelligence unit. It's just a secret unit. And there's no question about it being a unit. Anybody that thinks today that either Kennedy assassination, either one of them, or the King assassination, and others that we might go into, were done by individuals, just doesn't understand the business at all. The easiest way to see that the program is laid on in a team effort, carefully planned and carried out, begins after the murder. That the cover-up program, the things that take place, the lawyers that are hired, the courts and the way they go after it, the Warren Commission itself, yourself, things like that in all these cases just show you right away that there's a good-sized program operating these things, not 2 or 3 individuals. There's just no way. Now, where these reside, where they begin, who says let's do it, that's pretty hard to know because you're not ever going to find that out. That's, again, part of the package. It's concealed. But the work is carried out by people who are skilled and know these jobs, and they perform this work internationally. It's not just on the streets in this country. If the decision is made at some level or some point that involves an assassination, either within the United States or outside, the group involved, first of all, is in a very high position, and secondly, very limited in numbers. In most cases, the people that are called upon to do this have a good bit of training, they have the skills, they have special equipment, and they have a lot of support. And the thing that people should understand is the support they need really comes after the shots have been fired. How to get them out of there and how to cover the thing so people don't realize that a team of gunmen did the job. I certainly knew of plans that were intended to bring about an assassination, for example, in the case of Castro. So they created an organization called Mongoose. Mongoose was the cover word for it. Now, the objective of the Mongoose program was to assassinate Castro by any means. We even used mafia hitmen, skilled mechanics, skilled killers. We used poisoned things. We used all kinds of... There's a lady that used to be a friend of Castro's, I think, that said she was being sent back there to feed him some pills or something that would kill him, and on and on and on, all kinds of things. But here's what we need to get from the format of that story, is that Mongoose is an organization created by the United States government to commit assassinations. Never mind Castro. It was created for assassinations. Now, these people are selected, trained, equipped for that purpose, to get in there and shoot somebody and get out. And the getting out part is the hard part. That's where they need the rest of the organization. The hitmen are probably 4 or 5 experienced people that can do the job from any angle with any weapon and do it right. But to get them out of there and what the patterns are and how you're going to do it is a very intricate thing. So you have to have a trained program. And in this case, we called it Mongoose. Now, there's no reason to believe that Mongoose ended when somebody decided that, well, we're not going to kill Castro this year, we'll let it go. But Mongoose is an assassination incorporated organization.
Can you just tell us what you know about the CIA's use of hypnosis in manipulating operatives?
And every effort possible is going into the mind control business. And the CIA is very active in that. Our MK Ultra program was pressing the limits of mind control.
Here's MK Ultra again.
Included hypnotizing assassins who would then carry out the job without really knowing what they were doing and be programmed to do that?
Well, as you know, hypnosis is used to make people do a lot of things. And the business of mind control with respect to conditioning assassins and conditioning people to other things is universal. We all know that. And there's no... the action of these people who are involved in assassinations, everything from Hinckley to James Earl Ray, we'll say, and others like that, Sirhan, and all these people are not normal. Something odd happened to them because, first of all, 20 years, 25 years have passed, and some of these people are still in this state that is not exactly normal. I think they were submitted to pretty heavy doses of certain kind of drugs or medicines, and probably to hypnosis and other devices for mind control. It's a very advanced start.
So it's not an entire coincidence that Ray had books about hypnotism in his apartment when he was, at the time that after the assassination they were found. And also Sirhan had books about hypnotism as well, I believe. Do you think that's not entirely coincidental?
Well, and of course, this business of having books in his apartment and having kept a diary and all this, I find that is simply part of the trade, part of the assassination trade. All these lone nuts that kill somebody all keep diaries, and they're all very strange little diaries and that kind of thing. I think that's all created. I don't think they had the diary. I think that I've read many of them very, very carefully. I agree with Gore Vidal that they appear to be written by some central office that knows how to write these diaries. So the books they kept, the things they went through, are really immaterial to the basic facts of the assassination.
Can you tell us something about the secret team? Who are the secret team? Whether there are people still around today that you knew in the 60s, and what kind of activities they were involved in?
Actually, the book I wrote called The Secret Team is autobiographical. It explains my 9 years' work in the Pentagon in this kind of business. Actually, I had been in intelligence type work long before I came to the Pentagon. I was at the Cairo conference in 1943. 1943 and the Tehran Conference in 1943, when there were some very important secret operations carried out. I was in the Soviet Union in 1944 and in Turkey in 1944. So that through all this period, beginning way back in the 40s, it was clear that even though I was working close to men like Winston Churchill, I lived right across the street from him once when he was in Marrakech and so on, you would see that they would be carrying out some kind of instruction. I've worked in a room like this with Alan Dulles, right at home with him, with John Foster Dulles right there, and listened to the two of them talking
Alan
about
Dulles,
how we're
look at
going to
that.
do this or how we're going to do that. And then I've seen John Foster Dulles pick up the telephone and call somebody overseas. And you realize they're taking an input, taking instructions. They're not the top men. There is a high cabal, the words that Churchill used, that runs things. Now, we'll never describe those people. Their greatest strength is their anonymity, and they know that. Now, at lower levels, there are secret teams in the sense that governments or parts of governments don't stop them. As we see through this whole Iran hostage exchange thing, the Germans were involved, the Israelis were involved, the Swiss were involved, the Swedish were involved, Otto Palmer was involved, the British were involved, all around the world. The South Koreans were involved. Well, what kind of a team is there that can be assembled to do a job like the hostage exchange and selling arms to Iran and so on and so on? That's not any part of one government, but it's a most effective organization. So the closer you get to this type of operation and the more years you spend in this kind of operation, you recognize that there is a secret team that even governmental structures does not encompass. It's a very powerful, large organization. The people at the top are faceless. We will never know them. And I don't put people like Ronald Reagan or Winston Churchill or Franklin Roosevelt at the top. They're people above them.
I was looking through the peephole of the glass. As I was watching Dr. King, I saw him look over toward the boarding house. And then whenever he looked back, like he was going to look into the parking area, that's when he come up off of the grating, and that's when he was shot. I felt very bad inside that this had to happen in Memphis, Tennessee.
The weight of world condemnation came down on the city of Memphis on the 4th of April, 1968. This was the killing of a major world figure. How could they have allowed it to happen? There were even suspicions that the Memphis authorities were accessories to the murder and involved in a cover-up. The man convicted of King's murder, James Earl Ray, still protests his innocence. In this film, we show new evidence that there was indeed a conspiracy and that the trail leads into the heart of government itself.
So I am so surprised that nobody ever talks about General Fletcher Prouty. It is so shocking. I mean, I will tell you guys that this clip was very hard to find, and it has since been deleted, which is very mind-blowing. And every once in a while, it'll be re-uploaded. But it's because he just exposed all the three-letter agencies. And in my opinion, this is just my opinion, I have to say that, this is my opinion. Once they got away with JFK, then they knew they could get away with MLK and RFK. And isn't it funny that they're all three letters? This is a coincidence. I'm sure somebody could put that together in some wide theory. But what are your thoughts, Opa?
Well, I think he brought up quite a lot of good points, and he's correct that it takes a lot of people, a lot of training, a lot of equipment, a lot of planning to pull off things like that.
Yep. And you guys let me know your thoughts down in the comment section. So let's switch things up a little bit. It's time for an all-new segment of Please Excuse My Sense of Humor. So let's play that clip.
So I learned something today. You never really know who people are. There's this dentist that just got busted for drug dealing that lives down the road from me. I've been going to this guy for 12 years, and never would I have guessed that dude was a dentist.
It's getting hot in here, and Lord, I'm about to faint. I feel getting so hot, Lord, I'm about to pass out. It's getting hot in here, and Lord, I'm about to faint. Lord, I'm getting so hot, Lord, I'm about to pass out. With a little bit of with a little bit of
Whatever the things are not packed real
Right.
There's still a lot of room to work with. So with that consideration, I'll go with that.
You still do it.
Park that 7.
Look at that. Look at that.
Yes.
Yeah. Look at that. When I see a car like this, first thing I do is I say, would y'all look at that? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
right now not in a very good position. You've allowed yourself to be in a very bad position, and he happens to be right about it.
From the very beginning of the war.
You're not in a good position. You don't have the cards right now.
Gonna get so hot and muggy, it's gonna hit that place, glory to God, and it's gonna burn that virus. It's gonna get however hot it has to get there to kill that thing right now. Heat! Burn this thing! And watch that demon die. Watch it die right in front of it. Just get so muggy you can't stand it. Up blow! The wind of God! The wind of God! On you. On you. You are destroyed forever. You are destroyed forever. And you'll never be back. And you'll never be back. Thank you, our God.
I am taking it home.
When I see a stray cat in the neighborhood.
With me. And there is nothing you can do to stop me.
在很久以前，仙界有一位与众不同的仙人，名叫哈基仙人。他不像其他仙人那样整日打坐，而是沉迷于研究各种稀奇古怪的仙术。其中
Shit, I just tripped and fell. This isn't well, and I hit my hell.
I love this dude.
But no, one was around though. That's good, cause that would have been embarrassing. The second time this week, barreling down the stairs again.
He has the best Eminem impression. Like, I love that dude's close. But what was your favorite one, Uppa?
The cat with the beard.
With the beard. Yeah, we got to do that to Charles sometimes. Maybe get a little glue and give him a little beard or something. Nah, I wouldn't do that to him. But so I hope you enjoyed my sick sense of humor. Now a word from our good friend Kristen. So check this out. I want to introduce you guys to somebody named Kristen, who's one of the biggest forces behind Skiba News Nation. This is Kristen. She helps us get all the big guests. I understand that you're doing this full time now. So how can people find out how to use your service?
Well, I started Fellow Helper Agency, and you can go to fellowhelperagency.com. And I do any of the behind the scenes, email, getting the interviews, and I do prep work for the shows as well. I do timestamps and moderating. She is the best with connects. If you like any of our shows, any of our big guests, she's the person to go to. And if you have a channel, definitely go to our website. So go check out fellowhelperagency.com. So thank you so much, Kristen. And thank you, Jake, for another great current news. As always, Opus, thank you for another great Opus Corner. We guys hope you enjoyed today's episode and my sick sense of humor. Stay awake, not woke, subscribe, and stay tuned. If you like what we do here on Skiba News Nation, please like and subscribe, and also share with others so we can grow the biggest truth-seeking community on the internet. Huge shout out to all of our Patreons out there. If you like bonus content, you want some extra Skiba News Nation stuff, please go to patreon.com/Skiba News Nation.
Son of the legendary Lost Jeremiah Skiba.
It's like they don't even want to wake up.